Hello and welcome to This Contains Garlic. You're here with your hosts Georgia Garlic and
Mark Garlic.
we're back and we're talking about stuff as always. I've just had a large coffee and I feel like I'm about to have a mental breakdown. So here we are. How are you, Mark?
Well, thank you, Georgia. Thank you for asking.
Jesus, why are you like a robot, honestly?
Because I've
Thank you
been
so much. That's the
programmed.
first time you've actually asked how I am in like
Yeah,
6 years.
exactly. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm just programmed to have good manners. That's all. That's all life is about, really.
Yeah,
The
you do have quite good
pre-programming
manners.
that
I
we
don't.
have had that has been, we've been exposed to whilst we've grown up as children. So
What do you mean?
I don't know. It was just always everything was, revolved around manners. Stand up, say hello, leave the room, shut up, don't talk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know if I've said this before on a podcast, probably because I've said quite a lot in the amount of hours that I've spoken on here. But um, when my dad ever like first met Mark, this seems quite relevant. Just sort of let everybody know it's our
Mm.
fifth wedding anniversary.
Yay.
Again, we actually said the other week that it was our fifth wedding anniversary, but that was our non-official one.
That was
Well,
the
official.
four.
Well, that
Well,
actually
that
was the
was like
official.
the legal one, and then the I don't even know what's the word. Celebratory.
Our African wedding, you could say,
Oh,
was
that was good humor, wasn't it?
let me just actually that was not, it wasn't Africa, it's South Africa. There's a big difference. But yes, South
But
African wedding.
the idea of a destination wedding where everybody came and travelled, and it made it quite special with the group of individuals that we ended up with. Don't you agree?
Are you getting emotional or something? I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe we should look through our wedding photos after this
No,
and
I'm okay,
realize how much we
thanks.
love each other.
And realise how much has changed.
That sounds so mean, though.
I don't think you're going to ever expect anything more from me, to be quite honest with you. We literally just had this discussion as to like, Mark is such an all-in person. I just am
I'm
so
very
not.
traditional, like,
Yeah, you
that's
are,
just
but
the way
that's
it is.
Mark's like everything's 50-50, and I'm like, I think I hear 70-30 somewhere, 80-20.
Yeah, but when it suits you, then you're very happy to for
What do
it
you
to
mean when
swing
it
that way.
suits me?
Well, you're very happy to not share things, but then very
But
open
I'm.
to just taking whatever I've got
What the.
as
Oh my god!
more
Please
than fifty
reiterate what you mean
percent.
here, please.
Just life in general.
So, what have I taken from you exactly? Your sanity?
Yes. What else? Go on.
Like your natural dark brown hair that it's now grey? Or
Yes,
like
you're
hitting
hitting
all the
relevant.
critical points that you'd cry
Yeah.
about if
What
I brought
else?
up anyway?
What else?
What else have I taken from you? Because let's go on what you've taken from me and why I
Okay.
feel like I'm drained. I'm like a pond that's struggling with weeds. No, I'm joking. You can't say that I've taken shit from you
You
ever,
have
because actually,
all the
go back and
time.
tell me. And whilst I look at you in the eyes across the microphone, tell me
Yes.
that I have not taken shit from you.
You know you have. That's why
What
you're
the fuck have I
smiling.
taken? Then give an
You
example.
said my sanity, my grey hair.
Yeah, well, come on, come up with your
You've
own ideas rather than mine, okay? Come on.
um. It's hard to just.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? It's absolute bullshit. If you can't come up with at least three things off the top of your tongue, that is complete
It's not
bullshit.
like you have these things written down
No,
though.
but the thing is that you're always too slow. You then assign blame.
Yeah,
That
but
effectively,
sometimes you got to
I've
think before
taken
you
shit
speak,
from
though.
you.
Do you know what I mean? You can't just always. You got to sit. You got to contemplate.
So
I'm
you
a
just
very
made out that
stoic
as my character
individual.
was that I would, when it suits me, I'll use you, but if not, I'll just fuck off. That's complete and utter bullshit. That is. And I've probably said bullshit at least 14 times, and it's probably
Yeah.
only 5 minutes into the podcast.
No, we're doing well today.
That being said, Mark always comes across like you, like it does actually fuck me off, and it's not gonna help me and my character, but you always come across like you're this, what's the word? Wet
Stoic.
lettuce of a
No,
person.
stoic is the word.
Did you say stone?
Stoic.
That's stoic.
Stoic.
Is that what you'd actually pronounce?
That's how I would describe myself.
Okay, do you know the definition of that?
Yeah, like silent and wise.
You know what? And do you know what infuriates me is that
You got to be
I'm very
calculated.
good at public
Everything
speaking with
is
people. So that's why the
it's
podcast I talk too much.
it's chess, not checkers, Georgia. That's life.
But you absolutely are not silent. You drive me insane on a day-to-day basis half the time. You are not silent. I hear you breathing at every minute of the day I'm around you. So that's not silent, is it?
No, no.
You have to start conversation, otherwise it's like we're in an argument.
But we've got a lot to discuss, though.
About what?
Just work.
How much I've
life.
taken from you. I would love to. I'd like you to write a list of what I've taken
sucked
from
out
you.
of me.
Oh, I'll tell you about what I've sucked out of you, Mark Garlick. You absolute cretin. You are never deserving of anything other than cretin.
You know, how many times on a daily basis I have to, but I openly and happily tell my wife that I love and appreciate everything she does for me.
I'm just going to jump out the window.
Tell me I'm wrong.
There's a safety lock on there, so I won't be able to fit through.
I can open the safety.
Yeah, I can open it so you can jump out. You honestly make me out to be absolutely...
No, I don't make you out to be anything. You just assume
You did.
that.
You've made me out to be that number
You
one.
assume
I've
that.
taken everything from you. What are
It's a
you,
joke,
sorry?
though. We're having a
It's
bit
almost
of
like you're a
banter.
billionaire and I've just raided your bank account. I bloody well hope I'd married a 95-year-old billionaire that died. Do you know what I mean? Then I would raid their bank account.
What was that famous woman's name? Nicole. With the blonde
you know what,
lady.
I'm always going to say a client's name for some reason. Nicole
Oh, you know.
Smith.
No, not Nicole Smith.
That's actually a client. Yeah.
Her name is Nicole. Blonde lady. She married that dude, really old billionaire.
Yeah, like I kind of hats off to that. That guy actually thought you still had.
Yeah, I'm sure you. Even at that age, you've still got wants and urges. You might just want a little bit.
I really don't think at 95 you've got erections fucking through the roof.
Look at old matey boy.
But he was in a wheelchair. Like it was like he was literally. She used to push him around. There's photos of him
maybe
looking like a ball sack while she's there with like fake tits and like 20 years old.
Oh.
And that's a capitalist society, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to get that bag.
Got to get the bag. Every type of
So
bag.
are we actually talking about anything to do with health and fitness today? Or we?
No, I was actually going to start this podcast saying that you had nice manners and that my dad first met you, Mark actually referred to him as sir, and he nearly had a heart attack, even though his cholesterol levels are actually quite healthy. And now I'm actually just annoyed. I'm just annoyed that you've effectively made yourself again to be this angel. An angel in the light.
But maybe I am though. Have you ever contemplated that?
No, I don't think any person that's married could literally refer to either one of them in a relationship as angelic. I just don't believe in it.
It's about perspective though, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And it's not...
What do you mean perspective?
It's just the way that you choose to perceive reality. You've got... you have control over your thoughts, but the way you frame things in your mind comes down to you just being able to perceive things to be a certain way, which you can...
Well, you've just perceived me to have taken everything from you.
It was a joke.
But this is the thing, everything's a joke with Mob, and now I'm annoyed. Do you know what I mean? This is going to be a therapy session.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Oh, here we go. Oh, Mark, I'm so sorry. Every woman's listening to this going, wow, he's so nice. Oh my God.
Why? Because I apologise when I'm in the wrong.
Do you know how many people say to me, it was you're a force to be reckoned with? I'm like, you're just listening to an hour. Most of the time, I'm just also a force to be reckoned with.
You are a force to be reckoned with.
Where would you be without me, Mark? Let's try and big Georgia up right now.
No, Georgia's amazing.
That's really just rolled off the tongue.
Well, that's the reason why you are a bridesmaid to one of our clients. That's because you show
that's because I'm amazing.
very strong qualities of being a good human being.
Yeah, I would actually say that I am. I would definitely say that I deserve to go to heaven, but I'm Jewish, so we don't believe in that.
Do Jewish people not believe in heaven?
Well, they do, but it's not the same as Christianity, isn't it? There's always different... I actually believe in the afterlife. I would like to come back.
The afterlife? What is that?
I would like specifically to come back as a cat in a middle-class family.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I don't see dogs is because I've worked with a lot of people who have dogs that, even though the dog has a nice life, don't get me wrong, they still like ship it off to like somebody to look after the whole time. So I wouldn't want to be that dog necessarily.
Yeah,
Our dogs,
neglected.
I think, are just a little bit over.
Yeah, we literally treat them like babies.
Yeah, no, it's honest. Maybe that's because like we were thinking of baby names the other day.
We were thinking about baby
and I said to
names,
Mark,
but not
I
thinking about
physically-
having children though, because the
I
thought
know,
of that,
absolutely not. The thought of
makes
that
me
makes me
feel
want to like
sick.
hurl. Yeah,
yeah,
literally.
makes me feel.
Yeah, it's just so weird because I'm like around people that have children. I just still can't get on board with that. But the
I get it though, because it gives you a lot of purpose in life.
I just think you stop over analysing your life so much. And like
Yeah,
one of my
you've got
clients
no
said to me the
time.
other
You've
week,
got no time to self-analyze. You've only got time to just hang on.
yeah, one of my clients said to me that like when you have children, like you just know when to pick your battles when you're with your husband, and when you just literally just need to just not bother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the same with just like overthinking
Can only
things. Like you just can't
imagine,
micromanage everything in your life. And I do think that helps. And you've got children, you've got too big a
yeah,
distractions. Do you know what I
because
mean?
all you do is just watch them.
But we've thought of our baby names, and I said to Mark that they have to be as pretentious as possible. And I don't know why I think this. I just love pretentious names. I think that people always go like, oh my God, but I just don't want a name where people just obliterate with their accent. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh God. You see, I'll talk about my name, okay?
Yeah.
My mother would
Yeah.
call me what, Mark? Georgia, not Georgia. And she doesn't like it when people call me Georgia, even though I
Georgia.
call myself Georgia. Georgia, just fucking let you know that it's got an IA.
But they should have put a, in
Well, they
your
were going to call
name,
me Georgiana.
They needed to
Am I
put a
royal?
little, above the E, a little flicky flick, whatever those things are called.
Like, what, like one of like a foreign name? Or like Zoe when you've got the dots. What the fuck does that even mean?
I
Actually, I
have no
don't even
idea.
know. This is when English
I have no
language is.
idea.
So, like when somebody's
Pretentious
got Zoe
names
and
are
two dots.
pretentious names are quite cute though. Some of them are cute.
What did we think of for a boy?
Louis.
No, I do like Louis, but then I don't want people to think I've named it after like Louis Vuitton.
No,
do you
I
know
think
what mean?
Mungo is a great name.
What?
Mungo.
Mungo.
Mungo. Mungo. Mungo.
I'm sorry,
Weird,
but that
weird,
sounds like
super
some sort
weird.
of athlete's foot. Like,
No, that sounds like.
come here, Mungo. Do you know what I
It sounds
mean?
like someone
Mungo!
super pretentious.
Mungo.
Yeah, it's like.
It's like munt. Do you know what I mean? Are you munted, bruv? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not like that is
That is
Mungo.
a super
Do you think
pretentious
your mother
names.
would be like, oh, what did you call the child? Mungo. Your mum would be like,
Mungo.
are you okay? Have you been?
No,
did you get?
that's like if you went into the depths of Chelsea, and you found some kid with like an open white shirt that he spilled beer all over it, and he's got a signet ring on. I could 100% see a Mungo in there. They always
A Mungo, a new name.
There's
a Mungo.
always like Hugo, Mungo.
I have never
You
met.
know.
Now, please, if anybody listens to this and does know somebody, I have never met somebody called Hugo who is not privately educated and got a
No.
large trust fund.
Yeah.
I actually have not met one Hugo.
No.
Please,
neither
I'd
have
love
I.
to know if there are Hugos about that, don't there?
sure
So
they
we
are
recently
normal.
got rid of one of our sofas because it just wasn't fitting in our new place.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll sell this because it's literally a year old and it's a bit like a custom-made sofa. Obviously, it's custom-made, pretentious. It's just a loaf sofa. Anyway, we were like, right, we'll sell this and we'll get another one. So we like sold it, and I sold it to a guy that was called Soil Hill, okay? And I was like, I wonder if his name's actually Soil. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know. And it was a photo of him that looked like he was ketted off his face. Do you know what I mean? As the profile picture. And I said to Mark, I bet you anything. Do you know what I mean? He's privately educated and a bit
Oh,
of a
yeah.
fucking bantosaurus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, he WhatsApps
King of
me. He
Clapham.
buys it obviously like immediately. That again, number one rule, like don't just hand over money to people on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, you could have
Like,
fleeced
just-
him.
He was like, "Can I
proper.
collect it in a month?" Yeah, sure. Do you know what I mean? Like I've just taken your money and you've got
Yeah,
no
paid
common sense.
straight away.
You didn't even ask for my address. Do you know what I mean?
Silly.
Like literally.
Silly.
Anyway, he get this WhatsApp and he's like, "Hey Georgia, it's George. It's not actually Soil. My name's George." And I was like, "Of course it's George." Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Hello George. Did your mum pay
George
for the
is
sofa as
also
well?
can be quite a bit of a pretentious. I've met a lot of Georges that also.
Oh, 100%. I quite like the name George. Funny that. In fact, I used to have very good friends. But the he He said he did say that when he sent me the address of where it was going to. I said to Mark, take a guess. Do you know what I mean? What do you think the
Chelsea.
postcode says? SW10. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, you're in that embargoes environment somewhere. The Raffles on the edge. Do you know what I mean? But Raffles would still be SW3.
Yeah, the perfect sofa when you're coming back to the afters.
Yeah, come back to the afters and you've got like
Because
a
the dog had
sofa.
chewed the side a bit, so it would fit.
Yeah, the dog
Yeah,
had
no.
chewed the side of the sofa.
Yeah,
But,
it would fit the vibe.
that would fit the vibe. But I actually think that deep velvet leather, not leather, deep
yeah.
velvet crushed.
No, it was a great
crushed is
sofa.
hideous.
It was very, very comfortable to sleep on as well.
But what was actually the boy's name that we did come up with? Oh fuck! How could I not remember?
One.
I can't remember what it was. Clearly, it was really
It was Louis.
Augustus.
No, not Augustus.
No, that reminds me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Augustus.
Yeah, I know. Gus. It sounds. I don't know. I just think you're automatically a bit overweight. You are just. It's because it's Augustus glue. That's
No,
what
there's
people think.
like Gus's.
Gus
Gus,
is different.
Gus.
You've got to have something that they can
He's in
shorten.
shape.
It's going to really annoy me what we thought of the fucking child's name now. God, all the children that we're not having.
I can't remember.
The girls one, my client calls it.
Ollie? No, it wasn't Ollie.
Ollie?
Was it?
What?
No, something along those lines. I can't
Not
remember.
Oscar. I've known too many like dogs and
No,
children
not
to be
Oscar.
called Oscar.
No. What about Francis?
Absolutely.
Francis is a bit of a pretentious name, isn't it?
You don't like your name though.
No, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Sounds like Bark, yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Mark, yeah, it's quite religious, Mark, though.
It is, yeah. There was,
It is.
yeah, one of Jesus' disciples was Mark, and there's one of the chapters in the Bible.
It's going to really annoy me about what we'd named our child, and it was really good. And I can't believe, clearly, it's just not the first and foremost of my brain.
No.
Anyway, it was very pretentious. And moving on today, what we're going to actually talk about is what, Mark?
I'd quite like to just. Well, we said that this is going to be a two-part podcast. The first thing that I'd quite like to just discuss is the current. Not the current narrative, but there is a narrative within the industry
No. Wait, what's the topic we're talking about?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. The narrative based around that not all calories are the same, or calories aren't really a thing, and I just want to just kind of get our opinion out on that overall conversation, because so many clients, when we've been coaching them, have asked our opinion on this. So I think that I'd quite like to just discuss like why somebody would say a calorie is not
right.
really
So we're
a
actually
thing.
just going in on a rant, because you can tell Mark's very passionate about talking about the fact that not all calories are the same. No, that all calories are equal. No, I'm joking. What we're actually going to cover on a couple of podcasts is, like, do we think the industry is ever going to change? And also just like understanding the industry as a whole, as especially those that listen to our podcast as consumers of an industry. Like, we think it's quite crucial you actually understand the elements of like how our industry works and what people get up to and why people say certain things and why your, I guess, mindset can be swayed depending on people of influence saying certain things.
Yeah.
Now, actually, I think it's quite important to mention this, because I do think there's actually the channels in which this is all being spoken about tends to be on podcasts. And recently, which I think a lot of there's a very popular podcast worldwide, Diary of a CEO, where really should have been just kept a diary of a fucking CEO. Rather than that, they've tend to, just because our industry seems to be the most clickbaity and topic
It has
worthy.
the highest amount of engagement.
It's got the highest, because you've got to understand that like so many people are online. As like coaches these days, you have to be online, otherwise just like irrelevant unless you're just working in a gym. So there is this thing where Stephen Bartlett uploaded and has consistently uploaded this year. I think it's been the last year or so. That constant professionals all saying different things for like weight loss and for health and well-being and for all of the things that I guess his audience want to hear, in the sense of they want to have discussions. They don't. I just think that he should have just stayed as CEO.
Yeah, I just, the specific topics that have been covered are all very clickbaity, in the sense of they're very good for short form content and creating division with people that A, believe it, and B, don't believe it, that is driving the algorithm to create better engagement for him. But the idea that you understand that, and then you're weaponizing that essentially to drive your own narrative with a supplement brand, which is absolute dog shit shakes, let's be honest, as meal replacements, which is like, geez, 2001 phone.
Quickly go back and explain that better. Like, Stephen Bartlett is sponsored by Huel, which is a very, very large supplement brand that came to pretty much be promoted by him worldwide, like significantly. Now, don't get me wrong, they've got multiple athletes and different influences, but Stephen Bartlett has brought in a lot of business for Huel. And I would just like to reiterate, he's not an expert in health and fitness. He enjoys health and fitness.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a podcast, he's actually probably quite naive to a lot of these things.
I mean, it's
he probably knows a lot about business, like go and speak to CEOs and understanding how to like manage multi-million-pound businesses or like startups. But he's not a health and fitness professional, and that's where the lines are blurred, because all he's getting on are not CEOs. These guys are like doctors or
but they're
professors.
People or epidemiologists that hide behind all these fancy words, when in reality that they're so laser focused in a micro sense that they miss the whole macro picture of actually dealing with a live individual, not a rat or a rodent or some study that they've pulled pieces out to confirm their own bias. Real people living real life with real life environments and stimulation, which is, you go out and you make all these crazy things like a calorie is not a calorie. Nobody has ever refuted that and said that all calories are literally the same. That's why things like the thermic effect of food is such a thing, and protein is broken down and digested different to carbohydrates, different to fats, and then you got to take fiber into consideration. But nobody has ever said that that is not a thing. But taking things and being like, oh, I'm an epidemiologist, a calorie is not a calorie, is, you can't discard a unit of measure altogether. Okay, so a mile is still a mile, whether that's uphill or downhill. Nobody has even got that far before you've even dismissed the whole thing altogether. So
I do think it's important to, first of all, just clarify how things work when it comes to content production and engaging an audience. Because I think, like, as consumers, unless you run your own business via platforms like this or you're involved with it, you will have no idea. When people create something, whether it's a product, whether it's a video, whether it's content that could be like an infographic or anything like that, there's systems in place to try and reach the biggest amounts of audiences. So when you create something like a podcast, a lot of people then take a snippet from a podcast and then they put it up on their social media as short form content for you to then click on it and be like, oh my God, I'm fucking enraged, or I need to listen to this, or wow, this looks interesting. And they've marketed it in such a way where it makes you go, oh fuck, I need to know more about this. Or and what's happened is there's a lot of people who I don't really care, like, in the sense of like engaging with these people on social media, but the Stephen Bartlett's uploaded, these people which are world-renowned professors or this or that around the world, and he's selected. Remember, this guy Stephen Bartlett made his first amount of money off of influencers, so there is a strong understanding of how to engage people,
without a doubt.
and so he'll do a podcast. These people will say a snippet, and which, whether or not you agree with it or not, most of the time it's going to be something which a lot of people pretty much the health and fitness industry are going to disagree with. So then that fuels conversation, because then people are commenting and like, oh my God, like how the fuck could you have somebody on like this? But if you actually listen to the podcast, most of the time they do divulge into a lot of greater subject in the sense of health. They've just taken very good parts of it to then make you go, oh my God, they've said this. When that's not necessarily factually correct, you've got to listen to the full thing. But the way that our industry runs is, unfortunately, the very basics of how your body functions on a day-to-day basis, it's never going to change. Do you know what I mean? We're not aliens, we're humans. We've been, mammals, humans, this has been formed for years.
People need to come to the blinding realization that we have literally not discovered anything that new, or that we didn't really have an understanding about in the last 40 years about the human. Everything is, to a certain degree, pretty mapped out.
Well, I'd say obviously medical's obviously excelled in the sense of how they can treat things.
Science, that's different. But like the understanding of like your metabolism and how to build muscle and how to lose body fat and stuff like that. The narrative is being refined, but the science behind it is and has been very consistent.
But I would say that the reason that things haven't changed as much is because obviously the science, things have not necessarily changed, but they've adapted or they've progressed, shall we say, in the sense of before social media, for example, or the constant communication with people and seeing what people did, I guess there was just less desire for you'd go down to your local gym and you'd find somebody, or you'd go to a clinic, like a nutritionist or a dietitian, and you'd find somebody there. But it wasn't a really the health and wellness industry has been huge, but health and wellness also covers skincare, sun care, all of that. It's not just your body and fat loss and going to the gym. Wellness covers meditation, sleep, massage, everything. And the way that that's progressed and the information shared on it is primarily because of the apps that we've had availability to share on. So the need and the want for people to always have this information and to be told different things is obviously getting worse day in, day out, because not only are our attention spans much shorter, which means that we've got to have something that's engaging, otherwise fuck off. Do you know what I mean? So that's why, not to say that our industry has ever been politically correct.
It should then come down to the people delivering the content to be engaging as individuals.
Well, that's the thing. A methodology of science
narrative,
is not engaging.
which is evidence-based.
Yes, but Mark, number one, your average person stepping into the health fitness industry, and do you know how many people I just look at and just go, I'm not going to lie, just shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? Where they're like, I think I'd be great in the industry. I'm like that. No, you wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? And second of all, it's not just these glorified apps and people dancing around and helping people and looking great in gym kit and blah blah. If you want to be in this industry, do you know what I mean? You want to succeed and have the most long-term business, and you've actually got to help people. And so this is where the anomaly is. People think that this industry is so easy. It's the first thing is the barrier to entry is piss easy. You wouldn't walk into fucking a financial institution and be like, bro, I've just done fucking 2 + 2 on my phone, on my calculator, and I just think I'm really qualified to be working as an analyst. Yeah. It's do you even know what a fucking analyst is? Do you know what I mean? It's no. And would you even get close to that? No. There is just, so with ours, it's we fuck with people's health. We don't. On a day-to-day basis by making science work for them. So you've got to realise that majority of the people in this industry are doing it for them. They're not doing it for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Most people have got no idea about my own story in the sense of this journey, you know what I mean, as to where I came from, why I'm in this industry and what I did, because I just can't be asked to share it half the time, because it's not about me. It's about the people I help and my expertise in helping somebody and vice versa.
True.
But number one, a lot of people are pretty dumb. Do you know what I mean? They can't even go further than a 6-week PT course because it's just too much education. It's like, oh, okay, that's done then. I can now make a living. So they never further their knowledge. When it comes to health and well-being, like, you've got to further your knowledge. Like, over the years, you've got to learn so much more.
Yeah, there's a lot of additional learning that goes on.
Yeah, like, take yourself back 10 years, you wouldn't necessarily be talking to somebody about menopause or menstrual cycles or testosterone levels or sleep or alcohol intake, because the vibe was
but I guess because there's no structure, there's no organization within the industry. Everything has to be based off you just being inquisitive and curious, which there's a lot of people that obtain qualifications or don't obtain qualifications, but then never do or have an inquisitive mindset towards learning and understanding the finer details.
Yeah,
and I guess with us, we have and always have been so client faced and focused that, when people are always constantly asking you questions, why is my back hurt? I did this, my knee now hurts. Give me the reason. How do I fix this? And it's just, you always want to problem solve, and for you to be able to problem solve successfully, you need to understand every aspect of it.
Yeah, I think.
And that everything intertwines with everything. So, pain could be so many different things, from a reduction in joint mobility to muscle dysfunction to self-care habits to, the list is so endless, and you have to have such a broad and deep understanding on all the influencing factors for you to be able to successfully problem shoot for a client without, like Georgia said, fucking up their health.
But the thing is, though, I think for a lot of people in this industry, it's like, I'm totally okay. Like, if you just don't want to fucking further your knowledge and you just want to train people, and you've got a good, that's good, because you're staying in your own lane. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The problem is that what things society has taught us is it's never enough. Do you know what I mean? It's never enough for you to do that. So that's when people are like, oh, okay, well, I'll just start posting things about things that I'm not educated on, or I feel like it's going to, you know what I mean, because it's worked for me or it's worked for them, whatever. And actually, they've got no solid understanding of it. They've just got to be along with the crowd, shall we say. There's definitely people in our industry which you would say formed certain slogans or narratives in our industry, and people like calorie deficits, for example, that really did, not that we haven't been practicing those fundamentals, but the wording of it, even though it's scientific,
the
popularity came from certain people in our industry. And then people were like, oh my god, but that guy's doing really well because he knows blah blah, and then I'll jump on it and give my opinion on something. 100%. But in the meantime, what a lot of these people did, now I'm not saying the person that did calorie deficits did this, because I mean, they've built a very successful business off of it, but...
Yeah, and consistent.
Is the fact that they've all formed their own methodology based off of this. And this is where an industry goes skew-if. Because you're all trying to do the same thing. Everybody wants to post a before and after of a client, or everybody wants to post, you know what I mean, people doing things. But the reality is that true to you? And a lot of people haven't been true to themselves, at all, in this whole industry. And, they have not been true to themselves. And there's one thing I always say, is that what we have done has always been true to ourselves in this industry. And it might not have been the biggest kick-off factor to so many things. We could have been way more announcing, we could have created our methodology and fucking planted it all over you, but the reality is that true to us? No. And I think that's why, going back to, is a calorie and measurement, blah blah blah, unfortunately, even people that are not qualified or have any day-to-day understanding step into the realms of health and fitness based off of personal experience, and this is entirely wrong, because it's the same as that narrative where they say oh, like my dad still thinks like having a Diet Coke is like fucking the worst thing in the world, and like you could try and tell him time and time again, but his brain has formed to think that like that's an artificial sweetener, and that, oh my god, we've been taught that artificial is so bad for you. You see, where my practical and your practical brain comes in is, okay, cool, like everything in moderation. Like, do we agree that drinking 40 litres of Diet Coke a day is going to help you? No. Do you know what I mean? Same as, do we agree with you eating 400 kilos of chicken a day? No. There's moderation there. But where our practical and professional opinion comes in is, well, have you looked at any of the studies done for artificial sweeteners and the
But the
effects
thing
it
is,
has
I
on a
feel
human
like you
body?
have to, if you draw a line in the sand, you have to be able to defend it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, but that's my thing. But what they've read is a blog post. Now, that blog post could be coming from something like Men's Health, Women's Health,
no, I
all
appreciate
of the
that.
things where people somehow still have trust with, which unfortunately.
But then when you go out and you're starting to then push that narrative, not to say that in the context of your father, but there are people that absorb certain things and then go out and push that narrative onto other individuals, not having any clue or understanding on what they're actually talking about.
Like most nutritional qualifications, like dietitian qualifications, like rules to entry, like, I hate to say it, a lot of it's outdated. Do you know what I mean? Like significantly so. There's actually very few like courses that are like up to date with like what's going on and the recent science behind it, like evidence-based stuff, without passing their own bias onto it. But it's like you can't read, like you physically cannot read like a study that says like done on rodents and rats and then completely and utterly mimic your life off of it. Like you need to understand the difference between a rat and a human. You also need to deal with the personality, behavior, you know, of a human and how life has run. And I do think that.
And this is the thing that also starts to irritate me with continues to irritate me with that whole calorie thing, and also basically what you're touching on is that all that person is trying to do, or the narrative that is trying to be driven, is just trying to confuse people even further. Do you know what I mean?
There is
So,
something
like,
to be said that we
you-
don't actually need more
You're
information.
you're 4 or 5 stone overweight, and you need to just understand how your metabolism works, and the inputs and outputs of metabolic processes, right? So that you can at least get the ball rolling and starting to lose weight, right, from any intervention. And then you got some clown coming around telling you that no, it's all make believe, and you've got to get your microbiome. Okay, well, please define that. What strains of bacteria are we isolating here? What are the digestive mechanisms that we're following? What process? Please explain it in greater detail. Oh wait, you can't.
I think
Do you know
having
what I mean?
dealt with a lot of different nationalities, like of humans, like cultures, like in sense of us managing clients, there's always what science says to be perfect for a human. Now that went straight out the fucking window the more that civilization developed, you know, and the more that we have progressed in civilization to get to the position in which we're in now. Now more than ever, due to what I've just said and the progressions of civilization, and if anything, it's like declined in the way that humans have formed, but increased the way that we, I guess, communicate and all of that. Like the problem is the fact that none of this stuff like has ever really needed the attention that it now does, because
I see what you mean. Yeah.
like
No, that makes sense.
I've said this before, and I you know, it's not to say it's right or wrong, but I think the whole thing of like practicing moderation is one of the hardest things you can possibly do in today's society. There is like,
Yeah.
and I'm not,
Maintaining something is almost, for us as a society now, is virtually impossible.
like, do you know how many times that you'll see business, like business people, you'll see health professionals, you'll see sporting disciplines,
Yeah.
all be like,
Yeah.
consistency is your biggest rewarding factor.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, that's also the hardest and the one that we're least likely to be disciplined in. And then unless you thoroughly enjoy it and see the benefit, which most people don't have the discipline to even reach in the first place, you just can't get on board with it. Now, I appreciate that, because the way that we've been formed is like, when's the next best thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think.
Do I have to continue to do this and put a much amount of effort in consistently, week in, week out, for the rest of my life? Yes. And for some people,
No,
that's
I think that's
just not
really
a deal
rigid.
breaker.
That was definitely a bodybuilder coming out there.
No,
Like,
but I'm just saying, like, certain self-care habits, like, if you want to see the maximum benefits of your self-care habits, are you going to have to consistently do them for the rest of your life? Yes.
but I think where
course.
people struggle is that you bite off weight. Well, I guess we're told we've all got to do everything all at once.
I guess
and
there's
feel
a
like
fine
people don't
line, though,
necessarily.
because what happens if someone, for example, goes to the gym once a week but has the expectations of seeing progress? Like, you can't just go once a week. There needs to be more frequency.
I don't think this is about going to the fucking gym. Like,
Or
at the end of the
just
day, if you've only
no,
got time
but
for, like,
insert any
Well, like,
variation of a, like, there has to be it's a game of stimulus. There has to be a level of sacrifice in which one stimulus has to override the other.
Yeah, but you've also got to realise what comes into play right now is never ever been like this in the whole of the world. Like, we've never have just come out of like a fucking 2-3 year like dredge on of a pandemic, which we were all like addicted to phones and communication throughout. We all got obsessively weird over like fitness and health, or some people didn't and went the opposite way.
Yeah.
And we've been formed to do everything and to get all these results and to continue. And like, people are burnt out. Like, there's no other way to describe it. Now you've got to deal with like being burnt out. Majority of people are sitting on fucking paychecks that won't even cover like their monthly income, do you know what I mean? And then have all the dictating factors of having to manage their health, like, when the easier option, and I can say this from experience, is just continually fuck yourself up until you get to a point. And we had this discussion with the guy in the gym.
Yes, we did have this discussion. Very British mentality.
People
will only fix things once it's
once
fucking
it's completely broken. So like, and it's so true. Like, we work with Australians, we work with people in multiple different countries around the world, and there is nothing like a British mentality to doing something.
Yeah.
Number one, it only revolves around a holiday. Now, I get that the vitamin D is mega minus 0,000.
No, I understand. Having come back from Cape Town and stuff like that, like the natural light situation in this country should be illegal.
Yeah, but anyway, you're living here. You could go back to Africa.
All right, Nigel Farage.
Yeah, fucking Brexit. Yeah, no. Yeah, but literally, like, can't deal with that. You moaning about shit. You've got a passport for somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? Count yourself lucky. But I think it's the whole thing of like, British people run by a holiday. You know, when the winters, we've noticed it. Like, there's always a decline of interest or wants unless you're like a regular client, between the mists of December and February, because it's just fucking miserable. There's no Christmas, do you know what I mean? Got no holiday planned. You've just fucking made yourself bankrupt buying the children Christmas presents that you can't even afford, do you know what I mean? The Klarna payment, which I'm so against Klarna, stretched fucking out. Paris Hilton's doing the fucking advert. But, you know, you're getting to the point when March happens and the days get longer, people just come out like got that spring back in their fucking step. And the thing is, though, why is it that the British culture is just so inherently bad for managing their health? It's atrocious. Like,
yeah, it is bad.
It's really bad. Like, you know, in the sense of like,
there's a stark difference between just like your average population between South Africa and here.
In what sense?
Just the general.
I wouldn't say South Africans are very healthy either.
Yeah, but just in the broader sense, I would say that
I think sun shining, vitamin D levels up, sun shining half the year, or minimum half the year.
It's very different, yeah.
More
when you
than
go
that,
to like
makes such a big difference.
Johannesburg and Durban, where everyone's always on the beach and stuff like that, but there's a lot.
In Joburg, they're on the beach.
No, Joburg's all about big muscles and fast cars.
Yeah, and small dicks. But yeah, sorry, but like, what
Georgia and I
fast car
watched.
driving around Joburg? Like, get a grip.
Yeah,
So
make sure you don't get hijacked.
yeah, like honestly, do you know what I mean? This is the reality as well. Like I said to Mark the other day, I was like, you see all these people with like really nice things that like happily will flaunt it in front of you like 24/7, but like none of them paid for that outright. None of them can afford it. It's all on finance. Do you know what I mean? This is when you realise so many things in people's lives are on finance. Do you know what I mean? Now I know that like mortgages and stuff is a large
That's
financial outlay,
finance.
but
That's a loan.
you know, just everything. Like, why are we doing this? Do you know what I mean? I'm not joking. There's a
Because
girl
it's
that's
the
moved into our
it's a capitalist society in which the entire world has chosen to adopt.
yeah. Well, let's talk about the girl that we know that's moved like very like neighbours to us, and she drives a Porsche. She can't be more than probably 22. The Porsche is what, a turbo fucking
Yeah, it's a
like
712.
okay, people probably barring Porsche, people don't know what 712 is, but you know,
It's
it's
a
very
very
fast
It's a
car.
very fast sports car.
New, personalised number plate, all the fucking work. Can't even drive it. I've never seen somebody feeding a steering wheel like that. I was like, you should not be in control of a car that powerful. Do you know what I mean? Feeding the steering wheel. Oh, we watched it, her parking. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. It's
16
like
attempts
I
later.
guess if you've got the Porsche, the idea of having the Porsche
What,
from
arriving
it
and
is you
scratching
get
all the
in,
rims. Do you know what I mean?
you put it on, you rev the engine a couple of times, you put it in drive, you're whipping around.
Not
That's
when you're
the
feeding
port
the
of a
steering wheel,
Porsche.
you're not.
No,
That's
not when
zero
you're feeding
confidence.
Yeah, when it takes you 17 attempts to park the car, it doesn't become as glamorous as.
No, I just think like what is
It's
the
like
point?
like if somebody rocked up in a Bugatti and did like a 1,000-point turn in front of you, it'd be very embarrassing.
I'm so not admirable to people that have like really nice cars because like there's finance. There's finance. Just because you pay $2,000 a month for your car doesn't mean you should be proud of that.
But also paying something that is a depreciating asset.
It's probably
is
one of the dumbest
also-
investments you could do, yes. Now, I know it makes you have a nicer car and all
No,
of
but
that.
it also makes zero sense to then, buy it outright in cash when it's going to be a depreciating asset. You'd rather
What, so you'd rather
lease
have
it
this
to yourself so you can.
5,000% APR on top?
No, you would create a company, buy the car through the company, lease the company to yourself, and then you can use it as a tax deduction.
Okay, can we just do a side note there? Whatever Mark just said, like, what the
I'm not a
fuck? Where did that
financial
come
advisor.
from? Where's your corporate ability to managing car leases come from?
Well, that's
Why
how-
has this
that's
never
what,
come up that we're not leasing a fucking car with 5,000% fucking APR to only arrive and try and park it into a car park where it's just too small for
So
a
I
fucking
can feed,
SUV
we
anyway?
can feed the wheel. If
Yeah,
I'm-
it's just you know what it is. It's just this whole thing is all done for clout. Like, is anybody? I don't know why I'm saying is anybody because nobody's going to answer back to this apart from Mark and maybe the dogs. But we occasionally dabble in the good old Love Island, bit of fucking
Yeah, I love
turn
Love
off.
Island.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bit of a decompress. And what the fuck? Like, I don't know if anybody else has realised this, but seasons before this last couple of seasons, I think they used to get sponsored by fast fashion brands, so like Pretty Little Thing, Boohoo, like all of that. And then I think like with the amount that they sold and fast fashion and sustainability, like ITV and like all of the people were like, no, anti this. Like what we're now going to do is like allow either eBay to sponsor them with secondhand clothes, or we're going to allow them to bring and wear their own
Yeah.
clothes in
Yeah.
the villa.
Yeah.
I have never seen. I'm going to say as a side note, I do very much enjoy nice things, but I'm
Yes.
also very conscious of where it's placed
Yes.
and who sees it and not coming across like a cunt.
Yeah.
But the amount of Cartier bracelets,
Yeah.
fucking Van Cleef, you know, you know what I mean, that I'm seeing flaunted over Love Island. I'm like, sorry, but how old are you? Do you know what I mean? Did you get that from your influencer wage, or are you doing that? Is it fake? Like, I'm not sure, but so many people will wear fake 24/7 and pretend it's the real shit.
The guy
all
downstairs
the time.
wears fake Rolex.
Yeah, he was the first person to say to Mark. Mark doesn't wear a watch. I don't know why you don't wear a watch.
I don't really like watches.
Okay, when I fucking offered to buy you a 39 grand Rolex fucking bronze fake, you know what I mean? I don't like watches. Do you know what I mean? You just can't afford the one you want. There's a difference. But also, most people can't afford to spend like 40 or 50k on a fucking watch.
I couldn't justify
And then get
spending
it
any
nicked.
money on a nice watch because just can't.
Mark just has
value
zero
that.
respect for what he looks like in the sense of his clothes and everything else. Like you never have been any different.
No,
I've
but
literally
that's
had to, like,
been
try
the.
and
It's
get you
just
out
how
into-
we've been brought up, though. Like there was no like style and fashion in places like Harare, Zimbabwe.
It's the flea market.
Exactly. You understand.
The fake Nike fucking
Yeah,
slides.
Jikes, Mikes.
Jikes.
You know,
Nikes.
Jikes. I had a pair of Jikes before. It got to a point where the knockoffs were so bad from China that it became like a challenge to see who could buy the worst knocked off stuff, and it was like Air Jordan, but the guy jumping was upside down, and it was mad stuff. It was very.
Yeah, something
But there's
slightly
no-
special.
There's no, if you went to Harare right now, they'll still be playing Bryan Adams at the gig. Do you know what I mean? At the bar.
Most
Cotton Eye
people want
Joe.
to live people-
No.
How many times
It's like
have you
going
heard,
back in
"I have a
time.
tiger,
It's
You're
not even
like,
that
turn
current.
it fucking off, you
It's
middle-aged
like,
fuck.
It's like
Literally. But it's because it lives in...
it's like going back in time,
Yeah, it's like going back in time. Well, for me,
like a saloon back in the wild, wild west.
I was always up with the fashion trends as a child.
There was no fashion trends. Did you know the only fashion trend in Zimbabwe was the golf shirt with the collar popped, which is like,
God, you're not getting your willy wet in that.
oh
Fuck.
my days! Talk about something that triggers me is not like a guy walking around with his collar popped. Like,
Okay, Mark. Okay, before let's just do a quick analysis of what Mark used to be like as a teenager. He drove a yellow car with subs in the back. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Some of those things that's like a woof. What's the thing? A woofer? A what?
subwoofer.
A subwoofer.
Can I just briefly just run
It
you
was
through
his
what
grandma's car.
Yeah, my granny's car was a Nissan Sunny, canary
Sunny.
yellow, with like mustard interior.
My vagina is closed up.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's
then-
so
but
closed up. My
then,
clitoris doesn't
Man,
exist.
I put in a Kenwood front loader. I had a pair of 6x9s, 250 watts, two 12-inch,
I'm dying.
800 watts,
I'm dying.
running
I'm
directly
dying. I'm dead.
into
I'm out
a
the window.
2,400 watt 2-channel amp. Do you know what I
And
mean?
Absolutely zero girl attention.
None.
And
Zero.
no wet willy.
None.
I'm sorry, but like I've got a really strong opinion about this, and Mark
Baselines.
knows this.
Yeah,
If you have a
yeah,
shit
yeah,
car, please
yeah,
don't try and make
yeah.
it better. There is nothing worse than seeing a shit car.
I haven't even told you the worst
Oh no,
part
the
about
shit
that.
car when you've got a
That
fucking
is-
subwoofer
It's
in the
even
back.
worse. It's even worse. I even had my
What, used to
nickname.
finger girls in the back.
I used to. I wish.
Oh, you wish in the sunny fucking your nan's car. Do you know what I mean? A bit of fucking
Big
nan
up Doreen.
perfume.
Yeah, big up Doreen.
Doreen, is that a fucking name?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's probably my relation now. What's
Yeah,
my
that's
fucking
your
name?
granny. Yeah, Doreen.
And then Mark used to wear. Okay,
I
here
used
we
to
go.
have no.
I'm going to drop it now.
Can I
What did
finish
Mark
off?
used to wear? 3/4 length trousers.
Yeah, obviously.
3/4 length
Below
trousers.
the knee,
I honestly am
above the
hurling
ankle.
as I speak.
Cargo pants with loads of pockets.
With loads of pockets, just one of my fucking fingers. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, like.
You never know. Put all
Oh
the,
God, I just like.
like those, but it would be like grey and then a white, very white, tight T-shirt with like a necklace around my neck with like fucking teeth.
Yeah, it's got a shark tooth. Where did
like
that
a
come
shark
from?
tooth.
Your
Yeah,
fucking
like a
mum.
shark
Do you know
tooth.
what I mean? Your own
And then
tooth, probably.
what was even the most cringiest thing was the golfer's hat that I used to wear even
What?
at
Because
night.
you're a professional golfer.
And I used to
Tiger
spike my
Woods.
hair up. I used to-
Spike your hair. He used to have frosted tips.
yeah, frosted tips.
I genuinely, that Mark like has said to me on numerous occasions, like, do you think we would have been together when we were younger? Like, and I was
Yeah.
like, absolutely no way, because we were polar opposite. Like, I'm not proud of what I used to fucking be like.
Yeah.
Like, I really am not. Some moments I think, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? You absolute disaster. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like. I don't know. I don't know. Is being morbidly obese in a Hervé leisure dress attractive? Probably not. Do you know what I mean?
would've-
When I'm
I
fucking
would've-
drunk,
I
like
would have hit it, yeah.
I reckon you would have hit me when I was younger.
Yeah, I
Probably
would've.
physically, not actually. Do you know what I mean?
We
Like,
could have scrummed.
You could have scrummed. I was big enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
literally,
There would
like-
have been a good weight discrepancy. There would have
you're
been. We
fucking
could have
rude,
wrestled.
cunt. You're rude. Do you know what I mean?
What?
We could have wrestled. You
Yeah,
would have
we
loved
could
to
have
wrestle. You
wrestled.
always say to me, "Choke me."
Yeah, I do. I
People
do.
listening to this, chat, Jesus. If I don't come on social
Sexually
media,
and sometimes not sexually, because I sometimes just want to know if Georgia could choke me to sleep.
100%, 100%.
Oh,
And
you
like,
definitely could.
yeah, like my biceps are like really big.
Mm.
But literally,
They
I
are.
would fucking
No,
choke
they
you.
are.
If I wanted to, I could severely.
Yeah, I
hurt
think
somebody.
if you got really underneath my chin and then.
You don't have a chin.
Oh my
Sorry.
God, you are so rude.
Why do you think you've got a beard?
I know.
Oh, you fucking asked for that. You shouldn't have pissed me off.
No, but
before.
I appreciate that I don't have a chin. That's why I've got a beard.
That's why you've got a beard.
But I'm not afraid of that.
You are, because you would have got
like
rid
I've
of the
said
beard
to you-
if you weren't afraid of it.
Like I've said to you, there's nothing that anybody could say to me that I haven't said to myself that's 100 times worse. Do you know what I mean? Whilst I
Mark,
stare at
I'm really
myself
sorry,
in the
but like, we're
mirror.
not having a depression chat.
No,
right now.
I'm just. I'm.
That's
That's.
so we're not about negative talk.
Oh my God, you are the queen of negative talk, man.
No, normally it's to do with just like
You are.
hormones.
That's your.
But,
That's your superpower.
What my fucking being negative.
Captain Negative. Yeah.
Captain Negative. Do you know what I mean? Well, whilst I choke you to sleep, you can say that. But no, I do think that, like, going back to actually what we're talking about, and since the industry in general, I think it's come about where people are like almost like wanting so much new information where none of the information is actually even relevant unless you're going to action it. And I think like going back to consistency and what people preach in every single thing in your life,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
without that, like, it's almost just pointless. Now, you could also say, then why the fuck do you go and post infographics explaining about a situation? Well, a couple of things. Engagement, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what people want. And also, like, we're quite tired of seeing, like, the wrong answer plastered everywhere. Or
Yeah,
the
I
wrong...
struggle. I really do.
And so our way of providing that was like not to sort of like scream at you, apart from being on this podcast, but was to effectively write it, because that's how we felt comfortable doing it. And you know, it's had a very powerful effect on numerous people, whether they're coaches, trainers that utilize our information, or whether it's consumers who obviously take it on board and utilize it in their own day-to-day life. Like,
Yeah.
we do make more of an impact than I think sometimes we think we do when we
Yeah,
get
sure.
messages from people. You're like, you kind of just don't necessarily always see it like that with stuff like social media. I've never
Yeah.
taken it like incredibly seriously, one could say, in the sense of like, you just don't realise the message you put across to people. And this is again reiterating to those that put out the wrong message.
That's why. And a lot of people ask us our opinion based on other fitness professionals and what's going on, and I appreciate that people are coming to us for like a responsible, authoritative, trustworthy. People send us articles all the time. What do you think about this? Is this true? Can you explain this to me? X, Y, and Z. So I appreciate that, but the reality is we should all necessarily. Do you know what? I'm going to be brutally honest with you and just say I forgot the train of thought I was trying to go down.
Oh my God! I mean, this is why you couldn't
Yeah.
host a podcast yourself. You know, Mark
No,
will say
because
to me, "Oh, you
my
interrupt
brain,
me all the time." Like, if there
I
wasn't,
had the idea what I was saying, and then
It
it
just-
just broke up into 100 different pieces.
no,
and I just
it-
can't. I
You
was
just-
going to
you
say
can't do
something
it, it's
very
going, that's it, marks
meaningful and
off.
impactful, but it's gone.
no. What you're trying to say is that like people that, well, I don't know what you're trying to say because I don't know, because you haven't said it. But with people that, I guess, when people send us things for a trustworthy answer, obviously we're going to put our professional opinion, you could say, but also knowledge and experience behind it to make sure that somebody is in the right direction with their health. But like seeing people, the amount they post that's like factually incorrect, or
Okay. Contradictory. That's where I was going. It's
go.
contradictory. Is people changing their tune all the time about certain things and promoting certain agendas, you know, and then 3 months, 4 months down the line, completely contradicting what they're saying. Do you know, and
You could
people have
say
been
the same
pulled
for
up.
like,
People have been pulled up on it, but having and looking and seeing people, like Georgia said in the very beginning, everybody jumped on the whole calorie deficit idea because a certain individual made it very, very popular to do so and saw meteoric growth within the realms of social media. So everyone kind of chipped in and tried to mimic the narrative in their own different uh, way of doing it. And then shifting the narrative 3 months later down the line to something completely different, and then doing it. And when I'm not sure about Georgia, but when I see that, it gives me anxiety. So I can't follow any individuals. I don't. It's the general consensus when the reason why we kind of have a finger on the pulse when it comes to the industry is because people send us so much stuff all the given time. But I'd be quite happy, blissfully ignorant to
I don't
the
see why
vast
we have
majority
to
of
be.
it.
I don't see why we have to be like we're very, very aware of our surroundings, and that's why. But like, I don't see why we have to care. Like, I don't see why I have to care about somebody else's issue. Like, I can't necessarily mimic that. Like, maybe I don't know them. I have met and have been associated or involved with a lot of people that are well-known fitness influencers throughout my career. But like, do I have or have I ever agreed with what they've been saying or doing? No. Now, you know, going back to having children and your husband, you know when to pick your battles. Now, I will say the individuals that highlighted calorie deficit and NEAT and all of this stuff were probably the pivotal start to so many people going online. Now,
Yeah.
I will happily say, not being a fucking big-headed twat, that we were online way prior before that. Do you know what I mean? It was something where we used to, we had that on.
Yeah.
And so we didn't just transition because we were like, oh, do you know what this looks like? We could just have this whole online
Yeah, it
fucking
had
platform.
been going on in the background
But
for
what
the last
happened?
3 years prior to that.
Everybody caught onto a calorie calculator, everybody caught onto this, and suddenly everybody went online. Like, they literally did. And I actually would say that those guys were probably the pivotals to a lot of British coaches going online and thinking that they could. Well, I couldn't even say some people are coaches. I would like to say some are just, yeah. But, and everybody sees that dream of somebody that's bloody consistent, like, which you can never bat, like the people that are doing the best and most and have had a long-term business, not saying excelled millions within 6 months or whatever, but have been consistent with it day in, day out, have got the best returns and the best name for themselves in the industry.
Sure.
Because you look at like the Body Coach, for example, he was probably one of the first guys that ever did food content in the sense of fitness and health. And he was fucking entertaining. He was really entertaining, and he gave a really fun and light approach to exercise. Now, do we completely agree with his methodologies and understanding on certain things? No, but I also appreciate the amount of people he's managed to get active and move, and children involved.
Which is at the end, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. It's like, if you can take somebody that's sedentary and eating a shit diet and get them moving in any capacity and eating slightly better, that's going to improve their quality of life, and we're all for that.
The problem is that a lot of people don't understand how a human brain works with consistency, and so this is why you'll see in our industry specifically, you'll see things like 28-day challenges and then on repeat. Now, there's only reasons why people do this. Number one, okay, their challenge members love it because they're constantly there and getting things of what they want. And when that stops, they don't have the consistency to do anything or feel like they're challenged. So they run these 28 things. That's just a subconscious way of, one, making money, and two, keeping people accountable. But it's like this weird way of just constantly having to challenge people every 28 days to just try and be disciplined in something. And I don't agree with it. I agree with the thing of getting moving, but like, what are you doing after 28 days? Are you constantly like latched onto this person like medication? Like, can you get away from this and understand how to manage your health without that individual? And I think, we obviously have great client retention. That's because we actually coach our clients.
Sure.
Where people struggle with client retention or consumer retention is they just can't keep them consistent, and the fucking client or the consumer is then bored. So this whole thing of keeping us entertained is just only getting worse, in my opinion, because people's attention span, they're like, all right, what's next? I'll need another workout next week.
Yeah, and the whole process is not on entertainment, it's based on consistency. That's the
Yes,
thing.
it's all based on consistency. I know it's so boring, but there is going to be a strong line. And this is where the levels of, we were talking about this in the gym with a guy that is actually a sports teacher at a school. And he was just, it's very interesting just talking about the difference in just, and he said the last 5 years has been like almost eye-opening to see how many parents of, because he worked in a private school, just that assumption that if they send little Timmy to the private school, that they are immediately, even though they're absolutely shite at sports, do you know what I mean, like literally couldn't be more dyspraxic like what I was at school, do you know what I mean, at sports teams, yet their parents who are paying for the school want their child to excel so much more that they then go and have a go at the teacher for the child not being the level of which they expect. And there's this whole value of life where there are fucking levels. There always have been with life. That's why there's always been the working class, the middle class, the upper class. Whether or not we want to accept it, we're all slotted into one of those. Now, there's exactly the same in a working institution. You can't expect to walk into a place and be a CEO earning millions of pounds. How do you get there? You work for it.
Hard.
And there are levels, and there's always going to be levels you can't even physically reach in life. That's because we're the humans that we run different day-to-day lifestyles.
Different nature versus nurture, so everybody can't expect the same outcome. Do you know what I mean?
Like people always say, how are you so strong for me, like in the sense of me, okay? And I can't even reiterate, it's not because I fucking train 5 times a week or I do this. It's because my will and want is to be like that. I physically can't not be strong. I can't let anything get in the way. And that's because my lifestyle and my job and my coaching abilities has got me there. Do I think it's possible for everybody to achieve? Yes, of course, everything is possible. Do I think some people are going to get there? No.
Yeah, but
because we've
some
got different
people,
lifestyles.
I guess your expectations need to be geared with your lifestyle in general and your environment. The main thing, the main influencing factor in reality is environment. So, that has to match A, your expectations, and B...
Yeah, I mean, the problem is we're all taught that we can all have it very quickly. And I think going back to sports, it's like, you can't get this quickly. You've got to put in time. You've actually got to, and there is that assumption. We talked about schools the other day that if you're paying for your child to go to school, there is automatically more pressure on the child. And actually speaking to the teacher is because the parents, which obviously I very much appreciate, have worked really hard themselves.
Exactly.
Not saying that everything's working, you know what I mean? To afford to be able to send their children to a private school. So their assumption, like I was explaining to Mark, it's like an investment, and their child's the investment. And if their investment's not performing, they're not happy.
There's always an expectation
they need a
for
return.
you to do well.
Yes,
always.
They need a return. And that's a huge amount of pressure on a child to succeed. But I think we've all just lost the fact that we're different levels. There's going to be people across we come across it all the time where you're just like, we're just not on the same level here. Like in the sense of where you'll be looking, I've worked with people and Mark's worked with people where you're like, fucking hell, how have I ended up in this situation?
When I was speaking, when we were talking to Tony about it, and there's a personal trainer at the gym we go to, he says that he was having a conversation with one of his very wealthy clients, and his client was asking him, what's his opinion between the new Porsche and the new McLaren? And Tony was like, dude, I drive a Ford Mondeo. Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's no level. It's like literally, I don't even know.
He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, we're not on the same, we're not on the same level.
Yeah, and like, you work with people. It's not always about money. It could be about success in the sense of their own hard work and like the levels they've got. But like, I have to say, like, some of it, you don't really want to get
there's
to.
A lot of things that that predetermine those levels
100%.
And it's sometimes it's out of your control. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not,
you're already on a level the minute you're born.
The reality, the way the world works, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that predetermined that in its own. Like when we were speaking to the guy downstairs, talking about going to private school, and he said the most beneficial thing about going to private schools is like the networking through your friends and their dad and their family, their mom and dad, and who they know, and because he's a property developer and he's developing all his friends' dad's houses.
Yeah, and it's like
Do you know what I
money in the
mean? And
bank, and
that's
it will
putting
stay
you
at
on
that
a
level. Do you know what I
that's
mean?
putting you on an artificial level to a person that's starting from scratch.
So the question is,
Do you know what I mean?
if you took somebody like, this would be a good example, my sister, who is very academic, has worked very, very hard the whole way through her life in multiple different channels. Now, Emma was born into a middle class family. I'm talking in third person here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Had a very nice upbringing, went to private school, always dated people that had a huge amount of money or had a name of some degree. Dated somebody very, very well known
very popular.
for many years, and popularity grows. Now, is there the argument, because I don't agree with it, but is the argument to say that Emma's been put on a pedestal to be able to where she is now, where she's developing AI in fucking New York and is incredible? You know, because in her eyes and in my eyes, she's worked goddamn hard for that.
Yeah,
but would she even got close to that if she wasn't on the pedestal of
there's
networking?
There's an argument to say that that is an incredibly privileged lifestyle that is only accessible to a very, very small demographic in this world.
I would agree with that.
Somebody
but I also
could
think that
wake
there's
up with
nothing
the
to say that you
same.
haven't
Somebody could
literally-
wake up with the same drive and ambition, and have twice the IQ, and outmatch your sister in many different ways. But if they're born in Chitangwiza, Zimbabwe, the chances of them getting out the hood, it's not going to happen.
No. You physically can't compare it to Africa, because we've had this conversation before. Their level of expectation in life is so different to what my expectation of life would be. They haven't even been brought up around it. Now, does it belittle just because somebody's parents have performed well throughout their careers or their life, that it belittles the fact that somebody's worked goddamn hard and utilised their network and their knowledge to get where they are? Because technically that's what I've done. I've only ended up in a situation of training the people I've trained because I've managed to network it around with clients. The same with you. You know what I mean? It's okay. People did used to contact us for obviously, to be coached, but most of that came through who you knew.
I mean, you could argue for and against, I would imagine.
I do think those that have been brought up with nothing have got a higher drive to fucking try and not ever have what they had growing up. I see that a lot. Yeah. And I also see that as what...
No, but I guess it comes down to instead of it comes down to the actions of the individual. So like you've said, regardless of where your sisters come from and all the influencing factors, the reality is that she's hardworking, and she has worked really hard her entire life and continues to work and try and progress herself as an individual.
She works goddamn hard. She'd lose hair over it. Do you know what I mean?
Merit, that in its own right, regardless of you can't. It's not your fault. It's not her fault that she was born.
And I would think you would agree that Emma's also a force to be reckoned with in her own way and my own way.
Of course,
and she's put herself in the positions and
but
places
there is hard work. Your sister's always working, and since I've known your family, your sister's always been on the grind.
Now, difference is that would you say that your family growing up in Zimbabwe were a middle class, or would you say yourself different?
I would
say
say we were middle class by Zimbabwean standards, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the difference. Then do you think that all of your hard work, where you didn't necessarily have everything that I had, which you didn't, do you know what I mean?
No.
Means that you know what I mean? The standard is just so different, worldwide.
The standard is so different.
Because I don't think we are given like I said in Africa, you're put on a pedestal and you offer, we spoke about this, and I'm not in agreement of that. Because I feel like we all have levels, do you know what I mean? We should be going in all at the same level to then work out those levels. But there are going to be levels in life. Yeah. And normally the most consistent ones win.
You can't help that though. If you were born you can't help that you were born into the situation that you were born into. So,
for example, a lot of people who are very successful that then go speak about their lives as to how they got there, who grew up in poverty or on the breadline in the UK, or in a very, very rough estate, or, like, unfortunately 98% of them don't make it there due to the fact that, sometimes they'll say, like, some people come from the angle of, like, their parents never really gave a shit, do you know what I mean? So they don't really need to give a shit, and that's kind of the image that they portray. But then there's other people who see their parents working like 3 jobs, do you know what I mean, to try and get food on the table and to have gifts, and, like, when it comes to their birthday, or to do any of that.
Yeah.
And then that's even encouraged them to work even more goddamn hard to effectively never have to be in that position. And so that and if anything, like, I would say that, like what the guy said downstairs, like, I do think when you go to a private school, you are automatically around people who are on that level where it's not what job are you going to get. Oh, you're going to be... It's funny that, because actually we're talking with an African client.
Yes.
And we were talking about the fact that no, it wasn't Africa, it was your mate, where their friend had come across from the UK, and they were expecting that they were going to get some, like, high finance performing, like, job, and they were offered a postman job. And in Africa, that's like,
no,
that's a no. Do you know what I mean? For like their class of, like, levels of life, that's a no. You know what I mean? There's nothing
the sad reality is
UK,
you'll turn up and you'll be like, oh, you're a white guy, you can be the manager.
Yeah, I know.
You're like, I've got no experience. I don't know what I'm doing.
But it's one of these things where it is quite eye-opening to see the different levels. Like, God forbid you should come into the UK and work as a postman, but actually in the UK, that's a job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not
a decent job.
And so I do think, like, would you get the same opportunities if your parents, like, didn't culturally, like...
There's so many opportunities, though, within the United Kingdom, and I think I'm not saying that the current situation is something that can't be acknowledged, but if you go onto a government website, you can look at over 3,000 pages of apprenticeships that are being funded by the government in various different sectors, that after you've dedicated some time, effort, and blood, sweat, and tears, you can end up pivoting your life in a completely different direction. Now, do you have those opportunities like that in places like Zimbabwe? No. And this is a thing where I think we take so much for granted, the fact the opportunity of, like, learning and progressing our careers in the UK is, like, extensive. I just don't think a lot of people want to engage with it. The difference is that there is a lot of people, and even recruitment agencies and people that we work with who are in recruitment, it's exactly the same thing. The will and the want of the British people right now to understand that you are going to have to work hard, do you know what I mean, to get anywhere and to build your levels is... It's almost astounding how many people don't even want to try. They're like, but
you know
that
what,
being
that's
said, the amount of work, for example, that currently with everybody striking in the UK, people have been giving record amounts of unpaid overtime to corporations.
Oh, 100%. I think there's a, like, look at the NHS nurses.
There are people that are working their asses off, and the reality is that the system that we have adopted does not favour the working class. It favours the C-suite executives.
Yeah, and that is because of a Tory government, and I'm not going to lie about that. I guess my family's always been more Tory orientated, but I think everybody will agree that I think we probably just need a bit of a refresh.
I am so ignorant when it comes to politics.
I just don't see the point of engaging with it.
I don't have any...
The thing is that we can't change anything. Clearly, the people can't change much, because otherwise, a lot would have changed.
Having come
now.
from Zimbabwe and noticing how and seeing the real side of what a government is capable of, the fact that people actually believe that they have free will in the Western world, it is ridiculous.
Well, what do you mean by that?
The reality is whether it's Conservatives or Labour, like, there are certain things that are going to happen in terms of policy changes and things like that. But the reality is that the vast majority of the decision making is done by people that are not in government, corporations, Ministry of Defence,
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, we can never change it. It's always been the same
companies.
Way.
It sounds very conspiratorial, but the reality is that when you want to understand how things are working in this world, you just need to follow the money trail. That's the reality. If you follow the finance, follow the...
No, and I'm not belittling that there's so many people who are working goddamn hard who, again, now this is the problem, is the fact that obviously, like, economies wise, ours is really weak at the moment. So what's happening is we've seen a huge inflation of costs and nobody's salary's matching that. So everybody's now on the, not everybody, but you know what I mean? A large percentage of people are struggling.
People are noticing.
So then they demand more money. Now I appreciate a lot of, I'm not talking about NHS, like I'm just saying people are demanding more money where people don't have that money. Do you know what I mean? They just don't have it. So there's that fighting protocol.
They do,
like,
but the question is that when everybody, all these corporations are posting their financial records,
Yes.
which they have to, and everyone's making record profits.
Can we talk about
yet
levels here?
I understand, but it then becomes a case of moral and ethics. But we all partake in this game, though. That's the reality.
The thing is, so before, like, for you to get promoted in your job, to get a boost of salary, you've got to perform. Do you know what I mean? And this is the reality in any kind of business or corporation. You need to perform some way. You need to either do your job and turn up for years on end and you get a promotion. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
You've either got to perform in the sense of your sales or your closings or your campaigns or whatever.
Yeah, which is...
And then you'll get noticed more and more, okay? Like, I was only just literally this morning talking with a client who was approached by her same company she works for, which is a massive American company, to effectively do a very similar job to what she's doing now. She was poached for a role, but she gets quite a lot more pay, and it's pretty much the same as the role she's doing now. It's just better pay and better businesses to work with. And so she was like, cool, but there's 3 things I need to tick off in this corporation to be able to get into this, and one of them's their director's approval. Now, every director works against each other pretty much in a company, especially when it comes to sales and performance, because if you lose somebody that can perform very well and close sales and do all of that, then you're effectively losing like millions of pounds worth of quota a year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you'd need somebody to match that.
That's a really weird recommendation.
So the 3 things were like, okay, well, she's been poached for it because she's effectively really good at what she's doing. She's been doing it for 6 years and like she deserves it. But the 2 quotas she meets, which is obviously she's performing really well, she's been there for ages, and she's closed sales within fucking really short periods of time, and she deserves that. But the director's holding her back because the director doesn't want to lose her underneath her firm, so is effectively saying, well, I don't think you're ready for that. And she's
it's
like,
none of your business.
But it's none of your business because it's my career, it's not yours, and you shouldn't be dictating
And
the fact that I've been
bills?
headhunted for it, and you don't like it because you can't find somebody that can match, or you can't be asked to find somebody, or you don't want to take the responsibility to try and match what I'm taking for this business. And that's the reality of it. And like the director couldn't say anything more than the fact that, no, you're going to have to. And she was just like, well, this person's technically stopping me in my career path for the fact of being selfish for their own needs. And it is that thing where it's like, even those people, you know, you get more money, but it's taken a fuck ton of time. You've got to beg for that shit.
Literally.
And
you do have to sacrifice yourself and work hard and go above and beyond the scope of duty. And it is no difference when you approach your health. You have to be consistent with it. You can't waltz into the building, demand to speak to the CEO and promote yourself, you know, all the way to the top on the first day.
Yeah, same is you can't...
You can't expect results on the first day. You can't expect results, you know, or life-changing progress if you're not willing to stick to something indefinitely.
Yeah, I think that would be a very strong thing to say. I think in the sense of like careers, like, you know, at the end of the day, like, we're not disclosing everything, but, you know, at the end of the day, the biggest factor you'll see with somebody that knows what they're talking about and that doesn't, and this is probably quite a good way just to end the podcast, but is you can post and share and use other people's information, copy it, fucking, you know, to literally the sentence that's written. You can copy and you can mimic and you can be the sheep of other people. The reality is when somebody asks you on the spot about something and you have no clue how to answer it, that's going to be the differentiating factor between like experience and knowledge and, I guess, being better, and consistency is going to get there. So like, don't think you can walk into something and not fucking actually learn. That's the reality. And we've done the same in this industry. And if your coach is listening to this and you're stuck at a bit of a fucking wall with your careers, or you don't really know and you feel like you're stepping out of your lane, like, go and learn. Do you know what I mean? And then you can be in that. If not, stay in the lane and let's not fuck up the industry too much more.
Yeah, let's go.
Anyway, that was a good chat.
Yeah.
We will be back for another episode next week. We hope you enjoyed, and we will speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.